And Mercedes Mone helped save AEW. Well, in this video, I'm going to tell you the answer to that question because AEW is in a very interesting time and at an interesting point for Mercedes Mone. Now, Mercedes Mone, after signing with AEW earlier this year and making her promotional debut on the Big Business episode of Dynamite, has since appeared on television multiple times. In fact, we are just simply weeks away from seeing Mercedes Mone make her big in-ring debut for AEW, make her in-ring return after being sidelined for nearly a year when she suffered a devastating injury against the same woman that she is slated to face later this month at AEW Double or Nothing for the TBS Championship. Of course, I'm talking about Willow Nightingale. AEW Dynamite has seen, well, some struggles as of late, some real hurt as of late. Television ratings have declined, although they are going up against the NBA and NHL playoffs. I should preference that. But just like Collision, just like Dynamite, just like its pay-per-views, AEW has also seen a decline in interest. Now, at least for television events, Collision and Dynamite, those attendance, they've fallen, okay? Now, pay-per-views, a different story. 2024 is also important for the future of the promotion. Well, why is that? Well, at the end of this year, AEW's existing media rights deal with Warner Bros. Discovery, well, it expires. And so AEW, after about a year or so of waiting, they've been waiting and waiting and waiting. Well, why is that? Well, they've been waiting for Warner Bros. Discovery to finish up their talks with the NBA because they initially had the rights to that league. Now, not so much. So AEW is now in prime position to finally get talks underway with Warner Bros. Discovery. Now, since the launch of AEW, Warner Bros. Discovery has been prominent and really a crux for AEW because not only was they the first television network with TNT and later TBS to give AEW a television home here in the United States, but also that is where AEW had housed its pay-per-view events. That is where they had aired it exclusively through BR Live, Bleacher Report. Now, obviously that's changed in the last month or so following the disaster in which was Revolution and people having some serious issues. Therefore, they moved everything over, and now you can get on Bleacher, you can get on YouTube, you can get it on payperview.com, or what I recommend, Triller, and that is not a sponsor, but they are a very good platform. Going back to Mercedes Mone, with everything that I just said, with all of the struggles in which AEW has had up to this point, with the television ratings, with the live event gate, with the lack of interest, can Mercedes Mone, one of the more notable talent signings done by AEW Prez Tony Khan earlier this year, alongside the likes of Will Ospreay and Okada, the return of Jack Perry, the rise of Swerve Strickland as AEW World Champion, can they help save AEW? Yes. Yes, they can. In Mercedes Mone's case, she's one of the biggest names that they have under contract, and they have a lot of big name, talent, right? Whether it be your Chris Jericho's, your John Moxley's, your Adam Copeland's, Christian Cage, Bryan Danielson's, and the list goes on from there. Now, I think Mercedes Mone is a lot different from, say, a Saraya, a.k.a. Paige, when she made the jump from WWE to AEW. I think that's a little bit different because I think Mone is a bigger name than Saraya. I think she's a bigger name in the mainstream due to her acting credentials and her modeling credentials, but she also went across overseas and worked in Japan. So she is a more well-balanced talent to the point where she was able to drive up the asking price when she left WWE and later went to New Japan and now is in AEW. Another thing that I should also preference is the fact that we are also in a time where Swerve Strickland, a lovable babyface who the fans like. I mean, they literally turned this man from a sinister, monstrous type heel, a guy that literally broke into Hangman Page's house and went into his daughter's room. That type of hatred, that type of heel, and the fans were able to turn him into a babyface. And thankfully for him, thankfully for us, Tony Khan listened to the fans and decided to put the World Championship on Swerve Strickland. With that being said, you also have the element of a Monet who is clearly going to help the AEW women's division going forward, right? Once she's able to start mixing it up with people, well, that's going to expand her role in the company, because it's one thing just to do promos, which I've stated are not the greatest, even though I'm a Mercedes Mone fan. They're not the greatest. And so she really needs to mix it up with people. And in addition to helping AEW, Monet and Swerve Strickland, well, they're going to get some help, because we're eventually going to get the Adam Coles, the Jamie Hayters, the Britt Bakers, and eventually, since he just had shoulder surgery, MJF. We are going to get all these returning stars. Bryan Danielson is also absent from television. So you add in the returning stars, you add in the stars that they have already signed, well, yes, they're going to help save AEW. Now, don't get it twisted, y'all. It's not like AEW is going out of business tomorrow. As long as Tony Khan wants to fund AEW, AEW will never die. It will never die. Even if they don't even have a television deal, it will never die. They could pull an NWA and put it on a streaming app, right? Like, AEW is never going away as long as Tony Khan doesn't want it to go away. And so, if you look at the women's division, we have yet to see Monet work against anyone. It's kind of sucks that Julia Hart had to get surgery, and so she's sidelined, because that would have been a really good match with her and Monet. But if you look at the AEW women's division, it has star power. It just has a lack of booking, right? But I would love to see another Sasha Banks Paige match, a.k.a. Saraya, a.k.a. Monet. I would love to see Monet share the ring with Toni Storm, Mariah May, Serena Deeb, your Britt Bakers, and your Jamie Hayters of the world. There are so many big matches that AEW can do with Monet that it's really endless. Then you take in the fact that she can still work with New Japan talent. Not only can she go to Japan, or she can work Japan US-based shows, but New Japan can also bring in talent to AEW. It's the best of both worlds, and it's something that I look forward to seeing.